So every time it says live, I think to myself, dear God, am I gone live without even realizing it? But hopefully I'm not live. Hopefully nobody else can see this yet. Hopefully it's recording because Adam lent us the StreamYard account today. And we're going to try to record on this today because I think it looks a little cooler. I think it looks a little nicer. But let us know what you think in the comment section below as I find the right button so I don't look like I'm talking to myself. There we go. We've got the YouTube background in the background. We have Waylon on all the way out in Portland, is it today?
Yep, out in Portland, man. Out west. Never been here before.
Out west. Are you using up your Hilton points? Are you a points person?
I am absolutely. I use my Chase card for like everything, and I have a ridiculous mountain of points that I basically don't have to pay for flights pretty much this year. I don't think at this point, so it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
So you say you're using all Chase points for travel mostly?
Yep. This year, anyways.
Have you ever tried to specifically work with one airline and get executive big ball status, or do you travel too many places for it to work?
I wish I should do that, but I haven't. I've heard all these great things about the lounges and all these different things available to you, but I'm just like a simple, like walk into the airport, find a perch to set up on, plug into the charger and start working guy. So it's like lounges and stuff sound cool, but whatever. Other things you could be doing. But again, that's just the lazy way out. I'm just being lazy and not getting credit cards or whatever.
I like to get on earlier, get better seats and those kind of perks, but it could all just be, as you put it this morning, made up or fugazi. So we'll see what happens on that. Out in Portland, looking to build. What are your thoughts on agency owners traveling to recruit and to build and to train? Because I've seen some value of that in the past. What's your experience been with that?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I think you definitely learn some lessons though, quickly. Like there are certain trips that, if we're just being honest, aren't worthwhile at all. And it's like, damn, I spent $1,000 for the flight, another 500 for where I stayed, and these people are going to stink. But you kind of learn your lesson on that, on the front end of things, on vetting them out, questioning them, getting a feel for like, what are you going there to do, and understanding your role in the trip. What the itinerary is, getting a set schedule of what you're going to be doing versus just going somewhere and kind of sitting in the room waiting for something to happen. But it's a very valuable thing. It helps you broaden your horizons. I just got back from Vegas. So we did Vegas for like a blitz for a bunch of agents, which was great. It's a great, method to kind of get different people in different groups within the industry in the same place. And we did one big Airbnb and learned a lot from one another. And it's nice to all be convening at the end of the evening after a long day in the field and being able to bounce ideas off of one another. And then this trip's more of just a recruiting trip going over just the program and stuff our group has to offer. So traveling, there's a lot of value in seeing people face to face. It's old school, I guess, but I think it's more valuable to do that than it is to do what we're doing on this. Zoom and stuff is awesome, but you can't get a feel for who someone is until you sit across the table from them at some kind of dinner spot or lunch or coffee or whatever. So that's valuable.
I agree. I've done several trips where I offered ride-alongs, or did ride-alongs, or tuned up an agent that was coming on board, and putting them in the car, they got to see what a full day's work looked like. It was like an extended interview, as Adam would say. You get a little bit more rapport with somebody, and you get to say, I did it in your market. So when you say you can't or you couldn't, obviously that's not true because we did it together. So definitely some value with that.
Absolutely.
Totally off plan, but I think that's a good question to discuss. When an agency is recruiting, an IMO is recruiting, where's the balance between all fluff and no logistics, all logistics and no fluff? Where do you find that kind of balance in the higher level conversations?
Absolutely. And that's a great thing. We kind of spoke about it prior to starting everything. It's a lot of times when you find people at the agency level, so we're not talking agent, we're not talking IMO level, but people that don't have that, like, I want to be an IMO, like their goal is to plug into a system. Essentially, they want to be a high performing agency owner, right? A lot of the times they're looking to move as a result of the breakdown on the back end of things. So I look at the IMO, FMO space as a front end, back end, give and take space. Front end, talking marketing, talking YouTube channels, talking those flashy things, if you will. Oh my God, there's their billboard on highway, whatever, I'm going there, type of things. Groups are getting better at it. There's certain groups out there that are freaking awesome at it. And that's just not my best talent. I just have a big mouth. Some groups are amazing at marketing. The problem is when you have those groups that are amazing at marketing that bring you in that don't have a lead program, don't have a system for upward mobility or structure, don't really have anybody within the group who has a system to grow your business, and don't have any training or any infrastructure, employees, things of that nature to contract you, get you leads, get you the things that you need. I see it a lot. That's probably reason number one I'm out here. A lot of front end work, not a lot of back end action, unfortunately. So, and there's times where it's the other way around too. Some of the groups, believe it or not, that are the best on the back end, you don't even know exist. Like, as crazy as that is, they're just not very good at marketing. There's some great FMOs out there that they'll get you contracts in 24 hours, or get you a lead program, whatever, and you don't even know who the heck they are. That's just how it is. That this business, there's no one perfect group. That's why it's relationship driven and relationship based, because crap's going to hit the fan at some point, and when it does, you got to lean on that relationship. So.
Yeah, relationships are tough too, because again, like you said a moment ago, it's a give and take kind of thing. What might be good for this relationship might be a challenge for that relationship. Absolutely. But you need both relationships over the course of time. So you have to give and take, negotiate. A little political balance between the two is always extremely challenging. From an agent's perspective, though, all fluff, no logistics, all logistics, no fluff. If you're recruiting an agent, let's just say they have a license, they've got minimal experience, they have a little bit of money, what kind of expectations do you have of that agent, being that they're an independent contractor, they're not an employee, they really should have some self-ability on their own? What are some basic expectations you have of an agent?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny that we bring this up now too, because dealing with this morning, it's not – the expectation as an agency owner, upline manager of someone is to, number one thing is to listen, be coachable, and complete the task laid out in front of you. Not saying just figure it out like, hey, here's a puzzle, put it together. It's here's the puzzle and here's the instructions. Follow my instructions. Mm-hmm. That's all we ask. Follow said instructions. If you can do that, treat your first week in the business like an IKEA cabinet. Put the damn thing together. All the instructions and the tools come with it. And that's really all the expectations are. That's all I ask. All we ask, all that should be asked of an agent, like, hey, everybody has a little bit of a different onboarding system, some better than others. Our system is what it is. Your system is what it is. Follow it. If you're a new agent, just follow it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel while you're doing it. Don't say, my previous group did it this way, why aren't we doing it like that? Just listen, do as told. Once you get your writing numbers, get trained and go to work. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's extremely frustrating, or it's an extreme judgment of potential when you send a contract, be it a paper contract to Cincinnati Equitable, a Prosperity Life contract, an agent sync, a Sure LC, whatever awful system you're using at that moment. If they complete it within a reasonable amount of time. Like if I send you Prosperity Life, you say, I'm ready to work with you. Let's start with Prosperity. And 6 days later, it's not completed. Like that's probably it, isn't it?
Yeah, it just doesn't show well. It doesn't show well. Promptness that's a huge indicator of success in this business. You got to be prompt. Even when you're like, I don't know what the hell to do with this thing. Well, guess what? That's why you got an upline. Say, hey, what the hell do I do with this? I got it. Now what?
Yeah. I've also kind of learned, or at least tried to practice the belief that, can I find out the answer for myself? Have I saved this in my Google Drive somewhere? Do I have this resource? And then if I can't answer or solve the question, I ask for your help with it.
Yep.
I think a lot of times agents expect to be spoon-fed way too much and aren't self-motivated to kind of figure out, can I figure out the answer to this and then ask for help?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's what our minds default to is like, what's the easiest way to figure this out? And we're going to think instantly the easiest way is to just go straight to the person who brought me in, my manager, or whatever you want to call them. And that's great. and that's what they're there for to an extent. But I can tell you it will serve you extremely well in your career to quickly adopt that mindset of, I'm going to at least exhaust all different avenues to figure out the answer myself. It served me extremely well. It helps you'll stumble into a lot of cool resources by trying to figure it out yourself. I promise you that.
Yeah, I don't know why the laundry's so loud right now. Waylon, talk for a second while I go fix that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. While Chris turns into a maintenance man in his own home, I just wanted to shoot out a quick thank you and gratitude for each and every person who jumps on these podcasts to check us out. Extremely grateful to have everybody spend some time with us and hopefully take something from each and every talk that Chris and I are able to have. And Chris is back from his maintenance man duties.
I have no idea why it sounded like the machine was about to blow through the back door into the garage. What do you think are some important things a producer should look for in whatever system, agency, IMO, or whatever that before they attach themselves to it? Because I think it's an important question to ask. Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you offer this? Do you do that? What should a personal producer be looking for when they choose to engage with a system?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So up front, the things that you're going to be looking for as a producer, one is, we always begin with the end in mind, right? So one, a question that's age old now, but is worth asking. Chris, if I want to join the agency, let's say 6 months, 6 years, 60 years from now, for some reason, things aren't working out. As long as I don't have any debt, what's the release process? Can I get a release?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question to ask. Know that you can at least get out. Okay. It's a good thing to know. So that's important. The next things, which are more important, if you're going to be joining them with the idea of actually having success, one is lead system and or platform. What is your marketing platform? Marketing is the nutrients to your business. If your business is a body, the nutrients are the leads. If the group you're joining doesn't have anything marketing wise or some kind of lead platform, and I'm not talking about just any lead platform, like, hey, call this number and get your lead set up, like something where the people in the group are also using that platform and having success week in and week out, that doesn't have some kind of longevity and proof of concept. Not saying run, but I can tell you this business is exponentially harder when the responsibility of marketing is put on you, the agent, than it is the FMO, IMO. It's really the agency and FMO's job to provide the agent with a marketing platform. Now, again, can you go look for your own? Sure. But guess what? Now it's on you. And this business is hard enough when you're not even responsible for the marketing. Yeah. So I can tell you that. So marketing, the lead, or the lead system and the marketing platform. The other thing that you'll want to look for is levels. Contract level isn't everything, but it matters. If I hear one more person say contract level doesn't matter, I'm going to throw up on myself. It matters. If a Walmart in Philly offered me $15 an hour and a Walmart in Columbus offered me $35 an hour, I'm going to the freaking Walmart in Columbus.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I'm moving for that $20 an hour raise. So it matters. So contract levels, figure out where you're at. And usually a group that you're joining, not usually, they should be able to provide you those levels up front in writing, in an email, in something, some kind of communication where it's like, okay, now I know where we're at. And when you receive your contracting links and all those different things, it's transparent the level that you're at. You can call the carrier, verify your levels. So levels, release process, marketing platform. And the other things that I think are very crucial, one is community. Chris, you do a great job of this, providing some kind of community for the agents. Like having a platform of like, if I've got questions, I can get them answered. If I've got an issue, I have someone to go to that might be dealing with the same crap. If I've got anything going on, I've got a community of insurance agents, not people on Facebook, insurance agents in my community working the same type of marketing, doing the same kind of system, probably have the same kind of issues you do, right? And you have access to that. There's a long laundry list, but that's 4 quick things that I think are important.
Yeah, it's interesting enough. The longer I've been in the business, the longer I've worked with other people, I've come to believe someone's been in this situation that you've been in before. Whatever said awful situation is, somebody's probably lived it before. And ideally, you trust them and have some insight on how to manage said problem that you're having, or at least get a little bit of perspective that you're not the only one that's ever been there before. I think a lot of agents who struggle, they take on the I and IMO too much. They become independent, unplugged, and out there in the world without any kind of direction or support. And maybe that works for some people, and that's your discretion. But I also think it puts a certain cap on your capacity. Like, yeah, you can be independent and on your own and self-employed, but you're never really going to get past the point of your own knowledge and experience and exposure and lessons learned, right?
Exactly. I mean, there's a hierarchy for a reason. That this system is set up like that. There's hierarchies in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
If you really want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, like a family has a hierarchy. Your job has a hierarchy. Insurance has a hierarchy. There's a reason for it. Leverage it. Use it. The groups are there for a reason. People are above you for a reason. Use them for what they're good at. Insurance marketing organization, that's in their name. So use them for what they're supposed to be good at.
Yeah, maybe it's more insurance marketing organization and not independent marketing organization as well. Like speaking of hierarchies, I went to a damn alpaca farm and there's some alpaca that's in charge of the whole pack. Like there's a hierarchy even on the farm. So there's nothing wrong with using that as a support system. Marketing is the second M in that. Like if you aren't buying leads, if they're not offering a lead program, if there isn't some type of a lead system, they're not fulfilling their job as a marketing organization. And if you're not buying marketing, you're not going to sell anything. It's just so simple and fundamental. And then organization. Today, we talked about the difference between activity, and on screen here, it's backwards. My hands are like this. It's activity and productivity. I think a lot of times agents will go into the field and be active, but there's no production that comes from it. So bridging that gap from activity to productivity, I think is a question as agents we should ask ourselves as well. System needs as a builder. We talked about it as a producer for a second. What kind of system needs should I look at as a builder? Maybe I've got a few agents. Maybe I've got 10. Maybe I have 100. Maybe I'm shopping around for a new organization to work with. What kind of needs should I be looking at as a builder and not just a producer?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a lot of the same things. Do they have a scalable marketing system? Do they have the ability to onboard new agents into that system? Is it a nationwide marketing platform? Like, can we get an agent in LA and then an agent in Philly and then an agent in Boston and then one in Dallas? Are we going to be able to provide them with what they need? Ease of onboarding, like how's the contracting? How's the back end? How's the reporting? How are those things? What do I get line of sight on? What do I not get line of sight on? How easy is it for me, the builder, to hit a button and just be done with it and not have to revisit the same thing 600 times and beg for links to be sent for carrier XYZ?
Yeah.
Also, another thing too, which is getting more prevalent, is do you have a system in place to help me grow? Like, other than just like, hey, you have the system, great. What now? The next step is like, what do you have in place to help me grow? What kind of marketing platforms, outward facing, agent outreach type of platforms do you offer? Do you have? What kind of game plan do you have? What are some of those systems, right? So that's three big things. How simple, easy, and effective is the onboarding? How good is the agent facing marketing and new hire marketing? And how good is the internal marketing for those new onboards that you do bring in so that we can make sure that they have success? Now, the training and things also to piggyback is important. Everyone can have their own system though. So it just depends on what your vision is there. If you just want to plug into something and say, this is what we do, then that's important to make sure that who you're joining has a great training system. If it's something you want to build, then you have that option as well.
Now, the original topic we had for today in our last couple minutes was actually about life and health blended together, but I'm going to ask it in the frame of today's what ended up being our topic. I'm back to being a producer. I'm competent in whatever my wheelhouse is, be it final expense, mortgage protection, or whatever. When do I add other products? Because I think it helps you learn, grow, and mature to be able to add things once you're ready. But when am I ready to add other product lines?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the number one step to that is you need at least 12 months of consistent production in one area to just start adding a bunch of stuff. And when I say add a bunch of stuff, you really should be intelligent in what you add and when you add it. If you're working the senior market already, say if you're a final expense agent, add Medicare. Why not? It's the same daggone client. Or if you're a Medicare agent and you've been successful, add final expense. Same client. You're not changing a whole lot. If you're a mortgage protection agent, add annuities, IULs. If you're an annuity guy, add mortgage protection, IULs. So be intelligent with what you add, also when you add it, but 6 to 12 months of consistent, solid production to the point where you could fall out of bed and run a system. Then you can start looking at adding things. I think a lot of people fall into the trap of like, I've done final expense for 3 months. I've been semi-successful. I think I'm great. And now they want to do annuities and mortgage protection, and I want to sell ECA, and I got to do Medicare, and like it's like, okay, well, you're not even that good at final expense yet. No offense, but if you couldn't make very much money running a good system on this side, what makes you think that one's going to be much better?
Yeah.
So you have to, depending, it doesn't matter what market you're in. If you're just an ACA agent, you got to be successful in it for a while to want to add a bunch of other things. But we are getting into a more diverse climate for our industry. So adding is necessary. I think it's necessary. It's not even something I recommend. I think you have to really make big money. So definitely look at it, but get really good at one thing first. Make sure you're good, really proficient at something first, and then look at adding.
I think the difference between 2017, let's just make up a number, and 2023, between the $25 lead and the $35 lead for a bread and butter final expense agent is you got to be asking for a few cross sales a month to make up for the increase in marketing cost, the decrease in response rates, the increase in competition. You got to be doing a little bit more to make up for the money that it's costing you, or you're not going to be making as much money. Waylon, one other question. Do you feel like a lot of agents are constantly looking for easy street? Like, yeah, I've done this for a few months. It's harder than I expected. I'm not as good as I thought. Now I want to go do something extra more because they're really looking for it to be easier on them.
Absolutely. Again, we always subliminally even shy toward like, this will probably be easier this way. Let's try that way first, the easy way. Right. So it's like, it's a psychological battle. It's like you work for 4 weeks, you spend $3,000 on leads, you write 15 grand, and then you start petering off. It's a slow trend too. It's not like people that are consistent for a little while. It's never just like here, cold turkey. It's like, I skipped leads this week. I only got half my lead order the next week. And then it's like, now I'm broke and I got 2 chargebacks and what do I do? Help me.
Yeah.
It's not, again, it's not luxurious to be consistent, but it's necessary. If you're not consistent in what we do, you will fold. You just got to treat it like a business at the end of the day. You are an independent business owner, so treat it like one. Going to be ups, going to be downs, but if you stay kind of the solid constant, you're going to do pretty well. And there's nothing more reflective of that than our current climate for just jobs and our market, the investing market right now, all these different crazy things going on. What we do really isn't changing right now. Is it changing as far as response rates, things like that? Sure. But you could still make amazing money in what we do, even with everything being upside down right now. We reached our friggin', I don't know, I haven't read much on it, but we reached our debt limit of like $31 trillion. We're $31 trillion in debt. Like would you invest in that business? That's the U.S. government. Would you invest in it? A $31 trillion. It was like $31.5 trillion in debt. Our revenue is like $4.5 trillion GDP or something. And somebody put it on a balance sheet and it's like, okay, would you invest in this company? It's like, absolutely not. But we still get to make really good money as individuals out of thin air on a product that we don't even have to hold. It's just here it is. So just takes consistency.
I don't know much about investing, but I do claim the dollar cost average, which is probably also not true. I put $50 into Robinhood hoping it doesn't become FTX on a regular basis. I feel like it may or may not work, but the thing with novice investing is you spend money, it won't kill you to lose, right?
Yep, that's what you got to do.
Last question for you this morning is how long, I just wrote this in Scribble, Notability has ruined my handwriting, I'm convinced of it. How long before I have proof of concept or a problem in my business?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
I'm going to give you a story real quick, and I don't mean to offend or be too specific, but I've seen agents, a lot of them. Like they have proof of concept for a little bit and then they're gone. We kind of discussed that already. Or they do it for a little bit and then they're claiming that it's broken. Like you haven't done it long enough yet. You don't get married after the third date. Hopefully you didn't. That would be kind of strange. Maybe you're Amish. How long before I have proof of concept or I have proof of a problem in my business?
I would say proof of concept, it's about the same timeline because you can identify them both. So, because if you don't have proof of concept, you have proof of a problem over time. You either get one or the other as a result of your consistency and or inconsistency. But let's just say in a perfect world, you're consistent, got your leads figured out, et cetera, et cetera. Within 90 days, internally, you're going to know, like, is this something long-term? Is it not? Am I doing something wrong? What's going on? We talked about it this morning's call about tracking things and numbers not lying and being able to look at a set of numbers and say, well, dang, there's where we're at. So I would say 60 to 90 days on any given lead pack, on any given business model, and that's actually quick. In our business, we have the blessing of being able to find out quickly. Like, okay, it's been 60 days, turnaround time's quick. We're not running a pizza shop where it takes 12 months to know what the hell is going to go on in a market, or a grocery store where the head of lettuce goes bad and we're out $1,200 worth of freaking lettuce. Like, pretty quick whether or not, these leads, this lead system, these carriers, this activity level is working out. So 60 to 90 days, you're going to know. But like you said, a lot of the times people will make that decision in 2 weeks and it's like, good Lord, like you're 14 days in, man. Like you have no idea what's going on yet.
Yeah. It's tough though, because I could understand struggling and trying and not seeing it yet, but proof of concept or proof of a problem doesn't prove itself all that quickly. Like,
no,
60 to 90 days, I'd say 6 weeks. Maybe that's all the same amount of time anyway. I'm not a mathematician, but you got to give it a little bit of time and then you make course corrections. You don't make full on ejections from whatever you're doing. I made a commitment a while back to try a recruiting system where I paid $1,500 a month. They preset appointments. I talked to people. And unfortunately, due to my wheelhouse, what works for me, my time schedule, my organization level, it didn't work. Like I had proof of concept that it didn't work for me after about 3 months and $3,000 to $4,000. So then I said to myself, let's go back to what works. Let's get on camera. Let's give out content. Let's help people. Let's have conversations with people like you and Adam. And then people will say to themselves, hey, I learned something and I helped somebody make more money, even if they never worked with me. Or they see someone, they say, I connect with him. I agree with him. I like the way he's training me. Maybe I'll go out and I want to work with him. And that's always worked for me years in the business. Never gotten big doing it, but have gotten quality people and good relationships doing so. So proof of concept, proof of problem, give yourself time before you jump to that conclusion, I think is the takeaway I'm trying to make from that today. One last thing, any other insights in that balance between life and business that I think would be worth sharing with the group? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right in the midst of it right now. So it was Dallas to Vegas, Vegas to Dallas, Dallas to Oregon, Oregon to Dallas, Dallas to St. Louis, St. Louis to Florida, Florida to Dallas, Salt Lake to Chicago to Dallas, all in 20 days. I'm absolutely going to be exhausted at the end of that. There's no person on earth that has an energy level that can maintain that. But I say that to say, find something outside of the business that you do thoroughly enjoy. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you like collecting marbles, for God's sakes. Find something to distract your mind from it. And I say that not, I think how people typically say it, like, oh, you got to get your mind off of it so you're not burn out. No, I don't really burn out, but you do drive yourself crazy and you start making stupid decisions if you only think about the problems. You have to let your mind just subliminally figure some things out sometimes. So I always talk about sleep on it one night or whatever about certain issues. It's the same thing as finding something else. Like, you got to have something else you're doing. I have to have like a gym close to me. It's like something fun. It sounds insane to most people, but for me, it's fun. I get to look up gyms on every city I'm going to that's like walkable for me to just completely decompress and not even think about insurance for about an hour and a half every day. And some of the biggest epiphanies in insurance come in there. It's just because you're not you uber focused on like, I have this issue, I got to solve it. If you do that all the time, you will drive yourself nuts. And not even about burnout. Not saying you might burn out. Some people do burn out. I'm blessed. I don't feel I've ever burnt out, but I have driven myself nuts before overthinking the same problem over and over and over again. The answer is usually simpler than you think, and the best way to get to those simple answers is to find something outside of just this whole insurance thing we're doing that you will also enjoy. So
that's extremely valuable. I hope somebody watched the entire length of this video to hear that kind of stuff, because here's the reality of being active versus being productive is it all kind of comes down to some of those big things like we talked about this morning: decision making, problem solving, putting things into a bigger perspective, taking emotion out of it if possible, recognizing that a lot of times in business, it's not a life-threatening decision that needs to be made in that instance. Sometimes it's okay to give it some air, give it some time to breathe, give it some time to prove concept, to prove problem, and to recognize, I'll close with this one in my notes somewhere from today in the handwriting I can no longer read. How big of a problem is it really? And will this be a problem in 5 minutes? Probably will be. Will it be in 5 days? Probably isn't. Or will it be a problem in 5 months? Probably won't be. And unfortunately, and maybe you'll agree with me, there are times in life where there will be problems that are problems right the heck now. Still 5 minutes later, it's still a problem. Still 5 months later, it's still a problem. Still 5 years later, it's a problem. And you just have to learn at that. But most of the time, with a little perspective, things turn out to be not as bad as they really are, right?
Exactly. The sky isn't always falling, but it can feel like it's falling in the moment of things, especially like we talked about, like depending on what you're dealing with in that day, or that like the previous phone call can completely cloud your judgment just because you're either seeing red or you're just sad or whatever. And then it's like, I got to solve this crazy issue. It's like, it isn't that crazy of an issue. Just relax, go do something and come back to it and then figure it out.
Well said. Well, appreciate you being on all the way out west. Appreciate everybody who watched, liked the video, commented on what you might want us to talk about, and subscribed. We've doubled our subscribership in just 2 months. Let's continue to do that with your support. Waylon, thanks for being on with us this morning.
Thanks, Chris.